History is not always written by the victors. It is often written by the survivors.
But what of those lineages so bizarre, so specialized, that they defy our very definitions of success? In the grand, sweeping epic of the Mesozoic, most dynasties are defined by their grandeur. But one dynasty chose a different path.
It is a story of radical transformation, of abandoning the weapons of their ancestors to forge a new, strange empire in miniature. Now, let us open the chronicle and chart the rise and fall of this great dinosaur dynasty. The story of the Alvarezsauridae does not begin with the tiny, one-fingered creatures that would eventually define them. Like all great houses, their origins are found in the shadow of their predecessors. We must look to the late Jurassic, some 160 million years ago, in the sprawling floodplains of Asia. Here, the fossil record reveals their likely progenitors, generalized coelurosaurs, small to mid-sized theropods built for a life of predation. One remarkable fossil, Haplocheirus, gives us a glimpse of this foundational moment. Discovered in deposits from this period, it was not yet a true Alvarezsaur.
It was larger, perhaps 3 meters long, and crucially, it still possessed 3 functional, grasping hands.
The ancestral inheritance of a meat-eating theropod.
But within its anatomy, we, the chroniclers of this history, can detect the first whispers of the dynasty to come.
Its skull shape and arm structure show subtle modifications, hinting at a shift in diet, a new pressure.
This pressure was not a rival predator, but a new, abundant, and challenging food source, the rise of social insects. As the Cretaceous dawned, termites and ants began to build their own empires. While other theropods pursued flesh, one small branch of this lineage saw an opportunity.
They began to shrink, turning away from the hunt for vertebrates to pursue this teeming, chitinous bounty. This was the evolutionary gamble that would launch their dynasty. This evolutionary gamble, this audacious pivot from predator to specialist, defined the next 80 million years of their history. The Alvarezsaurids had committed to a new path, and the Cretaceous world rewarded them for it. This was their golden age, a period of unparalleled diversification and geographical conquest, all driven by the perfection of their singular, bizarre anatomy. As the dynasty radiated out from Asia, their bodies became ever more refined for their task. We, as chroniclers, must pause to appreciate this anatomical marvel. It is a masterpiece of evolutionary reductionism.
Where their ancestors bore 3 grasping claws, the Alvarezsaurs systematically de-emphasized 2, pouring all biological resources into 1.
Digits 3 and 4 became mere vestiges, evolutionary echoes of a life long abandoned.
But the remaining digit, digit 2, on a heavily modified hand, became something extraordinary.
It hypertrophied, becoming a single, robust, terrifyingly powerful spike. This was not a weapon for defense against larger theropods, but a specialized tool. A pick, a lever, a key forged to unlock the fortresses of termites and ants.
To power this tool, the dynastial entire upper body was re-engineered.
The fossil record reveals a profound development. Their breastbones, or sterna, became enormous, fusing into a solid, keel-like structure. This is a stunning case of convergent evolution, mirroring the flight adaptations of birds.
But the Alvarezsaurs were not flying. They were digging. This massive sternum anchored the colossal pectoral muscles necessary to drive that single claw.
With relentless, piston-like force into hardened earth and wood. Their skulls, too, followed this path of specialization. The dynasty's golden age produced forms like Mononykus, its name meaning one claw, and Shuvuuia. When we examine Shuvuuia's skull, we find it almost bird-like in its delicacy, elongated and tapering, with tiny, simplified teeth.
They were no longer built for tearing flesh, but for probing, slurping, and delicately picking insects from shattered nests.
Their long, cursorial legs suggest they were fleet-footed, dashing across the arid plains of Cretaceous Mongolia,
Moving from one insect colony to the next.
From the deserts of Gondwana in South America to the plains of Laurasia in the north, the Alvarezsauridae had established a global empire.
They were the undisputed masters of myrmecophagy, the eating of ants and termites. They had become a dynasty not of giants, but of obsessives, thriving in the shadows of their larger cousins, secure in a niche they alone had conquered.
But in dynastic history, specialization is a double-edged sword. The same innovations that fuel a golden age can forge the bars of an evolutionary prison. For 80 million years, the Alvarezsauridae had thrived by binding their fate to the success of social insects. This singular focus was their strength, but as the Cretaceous world entered its final act, it would become their great undoing. This was their great trial.
The late Campanian and Maastrichtian epochs, the very end of the Mesozoic, were times of profound ecological instability. Sea levels fluctuated wildly, and the climate became more volatile.
This global unrest placed immense stress on the foundations of the food web. For the Alvarezsaurs, the problem was acute.
Their entire existence depended on a stable, abundant supply of termites and ants, creatures whose own colonial success is intimately tied to specific conditions of temperature, humidity, and vegetation.
As these environmental conditions fractured, so too did the insect empires. For a dynasty as hyper-specialized as the Alvarezsaurs, this was a catastrophe.
Their bodies, so perfectly honed for one task, were tragically incapable of any other.
Here, the fossil record speaks with a chilling silence. We must analyze what the Alvarezsaurs could not do. That magnificent, keel-like sternum and single, powerful claw. Useless for hunting prey larger than an insect. Their delicate, probing snouts and simplified teeth. Incapable of tearing flesh, crushing bone, or grinding tough plant matter. While other small theropods, the generalist troodontids, or early omnivorous ornithomimids, could pivot, scavenging carcasses, hunting lizards,
or eating fruit. The Alvarezsauridae were trapped.
We see the evidence of this trial in the fossil distribution. Their dynasty, once global, begins to contract.
They disappear from the records of some continents entirely, their territory shrinking as their specialized food source became unreliable.
The great house, built on a foundation of chitin, was beginning to starve. They were masters of a dying art, and their revolutionary design, the very symbol of their golden age, had become a fatal vulnerability.
The final act of this dynasty was not a dramatic battle, but a slow, quiet fading. The great trio had broken their global empire, leaving only scattered, relict populations clinging to survival.
In the few remaining refugia, where their insect prey remained plentiful.
These were the last of their kind, ghosts of a golden age,
Walking exemplars of an evolutionary path that had reached its end.
Mononykus and its close kin in late Maastrichtian Mongolia represent the dynasty's final stand, still perfectly, stubbornly adapted to a world that no longer existed.
When the asteroid struck 66 million years ago,
it was merely the final, indiscriminate punctuation mark on a story already concluded.
The Alvarezsauridae, specialized to the point of fragility, stood no chance in the impact winter that followed.
the ecosystems that supported their insect prey collapsed.
And with them, the last of this strange and singular dynasty vanished from the earth.
Their legacy is not one of lasting dominion, but of audacious experiment. They remain one of the most profound and puzzling case studies in theropod evolution.
When we unearth their fossils today, we are not just looking at bones. We are reading the chronicles of a house that wagered its entire future on one impossible adaptation.
The Alvarezsauridae remind us that evolution is not a simple march toward perfection,
but a complex tapestry of gambles, of glorious successes, and of inevitable, silent ends.
Their story, etched in stone, is a testament to the sheer, strange creativity of life.
And a solemn reminder that even the most specialized dynasties eventually fade into history.